Have you had a bout with COVID-19 and noticed a little bit more hair shedding than you're used to? Or maybe you're a practitioner and all of a sudden your client's hair is becoming more sparse compared to how it used to be. Well, we are well into the fall season, and unfortunately, the leaves aren't the only things that are falling. Since COVID cases have been on the rise, so has the number of people complaining about hair loss that's related to a positive diagnosis. But is that something we need to worry about? Is the hair loss permanent? What should be done if you are experiencing that problem right now? Hair practitioners are in the position to see the first signs of hair loss, and oftentimes it's much sooner than we can see it for ourselves. So, when the Voices of Trichology suggested that it was time to bring this conversation to the chat, I definitely listened, and that is the topic for today. It's about COVID and hair loss. My name is Dr. Crystal Porter. I am a hair scientist and owner of Main Insights, which is a company that conducts research and focuses on the hair needs of people from African descent. This platform is designed to elevate the Black hair care industry and empower consumers and hair professionals with education that is driven by scientific research. Thank you all for joining the chat. Now, before I bring the Voices of Trichology on with me this morning, I would love to know who is out there. Please let me know who you are and where you're watching from. And also put the number 1 in the chat if you are a practitioner, put the number 2 if you are a consumer, and put the number 3 if you are a researcher or a scientist such as myself. And if you are frustrated with the lack of information when it comes to caring for your hair and you've wasted a lot of money, time, and resources trying to figure things out on your own, where you are definitely in the right place. And that is why we have created the Our Black Hair Matters movement. And so I would like to say hello to Taria. Thank you. You're excited for the topic. That's awesome. And you are a consumer. And then we have Falanda Nix. Great day to you as well. We have Tina. We have someone who shows up as Facebook user watching on Facebook and you're a consumer. We have Dr. Tamika Henry. Hey, thank you for joining. And then we also have another Facebook user. Your name isn't coming up, but you're from Jackson. And then we have Latanya. Hey, love seeing you here. Appreciate you joining. All right. And so if you haven't done so already, I have some useful, or I think I call them useful resources on what I'm going to call my hair assets page. And you can find documents that are about finding the right stylist, also learning about the biggest mistakes that curlies make. I talk about, I have a template for you to write letters to companies who don't have data to back up their claims. And you can also schedule a complimentary consultation by going to links.maininsights.com/info. And I also have additional information there that I will talk about towards the end of the show. And so if you are just now joining us, welcome to the Our Black Hair Matters Lunchtime Chat. I am Dr. Crystal Porter, and I am here today with the Voices of Trichology to discuss COVID and hair loss, what we've seen and what you can do. Now, this is a special segment that we have every first Monday of the month to get a perspective from licensed hair professionals. So welcome, ladies. And so what I would love to do is read their bios, and then we are going to jump right into the topic. So I'll start with Dana. She is the CEO and director of Hair Cares Inc. She is she is a certified trichologist, sister locks educator and consultant, a city certified research assistant, certified cold capper, veteran, and mother of a son on the autism spectrum. She has been a hair advocate for over 22 years, and her passion for hair ignited the very moment she started her very own Sister Locks journey in the year 2000. She specializes in supporting people who may suffer from hair loss and scalp disorders. She also coaches other natural hair practitioners and locticians through hair regeneration and prevention. She operates through offering in person and virtual trichology services, and she believes that every strand counts. Then we have Marvelette Bailey. She is a known pillar in the beauty industry. She has over 30 years of experience backed with in depth training, licensure, and certifications. Marvelette continued her education and training in the paramedical and science field, becoming a trichology healthcare practitioner and a biomedical research assistant. And we have Donisha Sullivan. She is a certified trichologist with over 18 years of service, providing hair loss prevention and restoration for men and women who suffer from alopecia. Donisha is licensed in the states of Georgia and North Carolina as a master cosmetologist. She currently owns the Hair and Scalp Treatment Center in Augusta, Georgia, and she also provides non surgical hair replacement services. All right. Really appreciate you ladies joining us or joining here for us to discuss this. So it's been interesting because for a while, there has been reports of hair loss being related to COVID. And so I would love to know about your specific experiences with that when it comes to your clients. So who would like to share?
I'll go. So I have had a few clients who did suffer hair loss following COVID. Some who already had hair loss and regained their hair, and then because of COVID, it came out again. And then I had some who did not have hair loss, and they started losing hair after. And they all had the same pattern. It wasn't immediate. It was like right after. Well, no, one was immediate. The rest of them was kind of like a couple of months after they noticed the hair loss.
Okay.
I also observed this as well with my clientele, that the clients that I already were suffering with hair loss, it exacerbated the situation, and they start losing hair, more hair. And then the clients who had not previously had issues with hair loss were actually experiencing hair loss.
My findings have been very similar to theirs as well. I have seen new clients come in because of excessive shedding or excessive hair loss, where before they weren't having concerns. But since having COVID, they've noticed that they have had an increase of hair loss or hair shedding. So I have seen that as well.
So how does it present itself? I mean, so what are they describing and what are you observing?
So for me, my clients, more of a telogen effluvium effect, like a thinning throughout, a lot of shedding. And then I also have some that experience the alopecia areata, the spots throughout. So those are the most common.
And so for me, it was a little bit different. I found it was around the hairline, and then also just low density overall. So that's what I observed.
I've noticed low density as well, thinning throughout. And I've had a couple cases concerned with the texture of their hair changing. It wasn't as manageable. It was, more brittle, more dry than it was prior to.
So even hair characteristics you feel change. Now, is this their opinion or is this something you've observed yourself?
Both.
Okay. All right. So Dana, you mentioned telogen effluvium. Can this happen with anything else? I'm just curious.
No, I said it was primarily low density throughout, and or the hairline is where I was having the issue, where I observed.
Oh, okay. Who
But
mentioned
specifically
So
Yes.
that's a characteristic of stress. So with COVID being a stressor because of the virus and being sick, even the psychosocial part of it as well can bring on the stress.
In addition to the fever.
Yeah.
I just want to add that as well. If high fever, so any other sickness or illness that causes a high fever or a change within the immune system, typically we'll see telogen effluvium as a result. And so this is common with different type of illnesses that cause excessive stress within the body, or the fever, and things like that.
Okay.
Which,
Oh, go ahead.
so I was going to say, which even with the studies, and they do say that there is COVID-related hair loss, and I might be jumping ahead because it's so many symptoms surrounding it. It's so many other variables that come along with it. It's hard to really pinpoint if it's just COVID-related, because there's so many other things that play a role in it that cause hair loss. So I can say that could be the culprit, but it's so many other factors to consider.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Marvelette. I also, when COVID was really rampant, people's lifestyles changed, right? They were spending more time at home. So the stress was a huge factor. And then also their eating habits had changed as well, right? People were stress eating or eating, just eating out of house and home because they were spending so much time at home. So you're absolutely right. Most of the studies could not pinpoint because it was so many things going on when COVID was rampant.
Thank you for sharing that. We've had a couple of comments that I want to talk about. Let's see. Alyssa has joined. Thank you. And then we have Ashley Carroll. She is a certified trichologist located in San Antonio. Taria says, yes, that's me. Hair loss about 2 months after. Never had hair loss before. Awesome. And so we have another Facebook user that says, good morning, ladies. Awesome. All right. And so I'm curious, can this happen from another illness? I mean, like flu is something that you hear about all the time, and it's like going up in numbers. So I know that we probably haven't had enough time, but I'm just curious, in the past, have you seen any effects due to other illnesses?
Anything that affects the immune system or creates a high fever or illness or a sudden shock to the body can cause hair loss. So yes.
Okay. Right. So what do you recommend? Can it actually clear up on its own?
It can.
Typically, telogen effluvium will course correct itself about 6 to 9 months after. So most people will notice the hair shed or the hair loss 2 to 3 months after the sickness or illness. And then it takes about 6 to 9 months for recovery to get that hair to regenerate and to fill back in. But I will say that I have noticed that the depending on the person's underlying condition, so if they were having concerns, health concerns prior to having COVID, then it may take a little longer for that hair to recover due to the underlying comorbidities. However, the average from what the studies are showing is 6 to 9 months.
Right. Okay. I agree.
So Dr. Tamika Henry says, eating inflaming foods, poor sleep, immune system impacted, affecting many areas. Yeah, agree. And then she also mentions long COVID, and it's still impacting hair loss as well. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Valanda says absolutely, and internal inflammation. So she amens what Dr. Tamika Henry said. Awesome. And so I believe it was you, Donisha, who mentioned the time that it takes for it to start to clear up, about 6 to 9 months. And so has that been your experience, and how have your clients been responding to that? Because some people hear 6 to 9 months and they're like, what?
Right. And the thing is that you have to take in consideration all factors. So it's not just about COVID. It's about your lifestyle. It's about if there are any underlying health conditions that could also contribute. Are there medications that the person's taking? We have to identify that, because yes, even with the flu or with COVID or a stomach virus, if there's a fever, then there could be some shedding or some hair loss. But it is different for everyone for the recovery. So typically the hair will recover in 6 to 9 months, but we're able to see sooner recovery if we get the opportunity to get in and address it sooner than later, if that makes sense. So if we're able to actually address it sooner than a person waiting, 9 months, a year before they do anything about it, then we can get that hair to start to regenerate sooner from what I've seen. Because we can get in and balance the systems or support with different things. Versus just waiting. Sometimes I've seen where people come in and it's been longer than 9 months and they're still having the hair shed or the hair still feels brittle. And there are some other issues that are going on that need to be addressed in order to get that hair healthy again. So each case is different.
Okay, thanks
Right.
for sharing that.
Right. I was going to add to what Donisha was saying in regards to the hair feeling brittle. It may have been for that particular person that they were not taking care of the hair because they couldn't have access. Maybe at that time we were shut down, right? And they didn't have access to their stylist or the person that was taking care of their hair. So it exacerbates the situation because not only did you have COVID, and this is you're experiencing the hair loss, but then you're also not taking care of the hair itself because of what the circumstances were at the time. Yeah.
So Taria says that it's been about 3 months for her and hair is growing back. Thankfully, the patches/spots are gone. So it seems as though the way it presented for her was through the patches. And so you talked about thinning throughout where it becomes sparse or some of the patches. I think that's fascinating how people experience different types of hair loss, even if the underlying, I'll say, condition that may, as you said, Dana, is exacerbated and presents itself that way. I think that's awesome to study. And then Tamika Henry says nutrient deficiencies, thyroid, and poor products. Let's see. Yeah, poor products. Ooh, I'd love to ask what you mean by poor products, Dr. Tamika, because I oftentimes talk about the products and, there not being enough data to substantiate the claims that they make. So I'm curious about what you mean by poor products. There are a lot of products out there that should not be on the market that make claims that it's going to help with hair loss. And speaking of that, how do you ladies deal with that? All the products that are out there, how do you decide what you're going to use and what you feel would be beneficial for your clients?
I generally go for the data. I kind of look it up and see if there's data to support their claims, see what ingredients are actually in the products, and kind of go, and then trial and error. Some things may not have data to support it, but when you look at the ingredients and use it, you see how the hair responds to it and how the scalp responds to it. And then you kind of gather your own information, say, okay, this is a decent product.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's very important for you to use your own discernment, so to speak. The thing that I oftentimes wonder about is if the manufacturer doesn't state that they do third-party testing, how you're able to determine whether or not it's safe. So whether or not they say it has all these great ingredients, it doesn't always translate into the product being made in a safe way or translate into other ingredients being a part of the formulation that isn't intended to be in, but it's natural, and there are some other ingredients that tend not to be good for us, even though they're natural. And so you want to make sure that it doesn't have any toxic ingredients in there that may come along with it. Yeah.
I actually went on trends.google.com, and trends.google.com indicates like the trend of when people are going online to search about different things. And I noticed in August of 2020, it was a high spike in inquiries about COVID and hair loss. And then I also noticed in November and December of 2021, there's also a huge spike in people Googling about COVID and hair loss. And I was just wondering for the other practitioners, had you noticed during that time like a spike with your particular clients around hair loss? So it was August 2020 and November and December of 21. If you could think back that far, right?
I can't say a hard yes, but
Okay.
possibly I'm kind of going back off memory. Possibly I can't say a hard yes, but possibly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I can't say either, but I will say I am still seeing um results from, well, I'm still seeing clients that are coming in that are having telogen effluvium from,
Mhm.
from getting sick because they're getting reinfected. There are some people that are getting reinfected, and then they could be on a good path, and then now they're getting shedding all over again. And so I am seeing that. So I can't say from those months, but it's been consistent. I have been seeing that consistency of hair loss for sure.
In addition to what Donisha just said, there is a lingering effect of COVID.
Mhm.
It's like you said, the spike, the up and down, you're okay, and there's a lot of lingering side effects. So it does play a role in the hair. And I'm gonna go back to the hair texture changing. I have seen that a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's 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 like a, I don't want to say a coating or the hair is not receiving anything. It's just I can't describe it. It's very different. It's very different.
Hmm. Interesting you say that. And so I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you will be joining me, Marvelette, to talk about how you train the hair. And so I'm real curious because when that happens, I would think that there are some things that a professional would be able to do to try to deal with that. So I would love to hear your perspective when we're on together talking about that.
So the
Yeah.
the texture changes that I identified was the actual curl pattern itself, where before the person got COVID, the curl pattern was very short versus the elongated curl pattern when the hair started growing back in. So those are the texture changes that I was able to observe. Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure some people, wow. So let me ask, is there a trend where it's more tightly coiled or is it looser? I'm just curious your experience.
So it was tightly coiled. Now it's looser as it's growing back in.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dr. Tamika says many people have not read what they are putting on their bodies and in their hair and eating. It's all connected. Taria is saying that we have great points. Belanda says, yes, for sure. I'm pretty sure she's talking about Dr. Tamika. And then Falanda says some of it was mechanical errors doing to clients not knowing what to do. Yeah, I think that was spot on as well. And then Lacey Harper Mack says COVID made hair loss products skyrocket. Woo! It absolutely did. It
Yes.
did. Ooh, lots of data on that. Yeah, people were forced to do their hair on their own, right?
Mhm.
And how does that affect you as a practitioner when people start to do hair themselves? I can see it going one of two ways. One way is maybe you don't get as many people in, or maybe they've jacked up their hair so much that they're running back to see you. So I'm curious about that.
I
I'll say,
think
go ahead, Dana.
no, I was going to say that so what COVID did do was either made you resourceful and learn how to take care of your hair. A lot of people went to that YouTube university to figure out some things and did some home remedies. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. And so we got the aftermath of the didn't work out for you. Uh, The other thing, I think some of the hair loss wasn't so much from COVID itself, but just because of those practices that those people were doing at home, the products in which they were concocting, putting on their hair, and it didn't have to do with COVID. It was just what they were actually putting on the hair.
So would you say that's more hair breakage
Yeah,
issues?
yes. Which we would call breakage, but someone else would say, "I'm losing my hair." Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So they're identified as they're losing their hair, and we would see it as breakage because of what they were, the practices they were using.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did
I
you want
think
to add to that, Donisha?
I did. I think it's a good opportunity to educate the clients,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, like you said, YouTube University,
Mm-hmm.
they got a lot of information that may have been good or may not. But I think that it's important and very valuable that when they come in, especially into my clinic, that I explain to them what their particular hair care needs are. So no matter where they go or what products they choose to use, they're educated going forward. So if we have another lockdown or if we have another whatever, anything that could come up, at least that individual is educated on their particular hair care needs and they can make informed decisions. So it kind of opened up the door where it made way for more conversation about um, how diverse everyone's needs are, one, and then two, what we can do to support them, even from home. So I'm open to it. COVID changed things a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a good opportunity to educate and empower.
Mm, great point.
Mhm.
So a Facebook user says, I'm gonna actually put this on the screen. A lot of lingering effects that are being seen, especially from COVID-19 or other illnesses, may stem from the stress that was put on the body. Stress produces an internal alteration, and that internal alteration can produce many negative effects, especially to the hair and skin. Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I was looking, actually, I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the increase of cortisol and how the hair follicles actually have receptors that can, be affected by stress and the increase in cortisol. So that hits on that. Oh, so that was Lori. Okay. So Taria, thank you for saying that was Lori. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not on the social media platforms to know who is saying what from which particular channel they're coming in from. So thank you for your contribution. Uh, and so I wanted to know, so one part is experiencing the hair loss, but what can people actually do to camouflage the effects of hair loss? I know, Marvelette, you've had some experiences with working with clients to camouflage recently. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So hair is like a very sensitive issue in choosing the proper style. Most people are used to wearing their hair a certain way. It's hard to deviate from that. So I have a hard time express that to my clients sometimes, depending on the client. So recently, I had a couple. So they want to wear a silk press. You really shouldn't wear that because that's not healthy for you and what you have going on. So if your hair is thinning, curls make your hair look fuller. So you have to go to roller sets, and most people are natural these days. So a lot of people who are experiencing hair loss are natural. So they figure, well, my hair's not going to look right. It's going to shrink up. It's going to not have body. It's not. It's not. It's all about what products you use and what you do, how you do it. So it's no, and this is the myth a lot of people get. There's no one product fits all. So you have to really work with the hair, analyze the hair, and figure out what product. And it's trial and error, truthfully, what product will possibly work for this person, depending on what look you're trying to achieve. So I'm happy to say they were very pleased with the new look, and it gave them a totally different look, very full. The hair looked healthy and full of body with a roller set. And you could not tell that she had issues where
Mm-hmm.
before you really could.
Mm-hmm.
So it did work out. It's all about choosing the proper style for that person and something that's healthy for the hair or complement the issues they have going on.
Mm-hmm.
I had another young lady who her hair loss was severe, to where we finger waved it. She was natural, but her natural straight state was straight enough to where you could finger wave it. You thought she had a full head of hair until you saw her get a, well, nobody would see but me, get her hair shampooed. And she did that for a few years as her hair grew back. Then she had a full head of hair, grew back long, and then COVID happened. She got COVID and she started getting spots again, but toward the back. So,
Mhm.
whereas before they were all over her head. So you just have to be.
I was going to say what specifically with sister locks, for people that have low density or are experiencing hair loss, you can choose the locking pattern and then the amount of tension that is being applied to give someone the illusion of volume. So you know, if you have sister locks or you have a locking system, I would confer with my loctician to ensure that they're changing the way that they're doing the interlocking to accommodate what's going on with your density.
Mm.
Mhm.
And I would just like to add, we could also, well, I offer the service of the non-surgical hair replacement,
Mhm.
which is a nice temporary, what can be a temporary camouflage until the hair fills back in. So there's the toppers, there's the clip-ins, there's different types of hair pieces that can mimic the natural hair until that hair fills back in. So I offer those services as well.
Awesome. Okay. I want to make sure that there aren't any other questions that have come up. I am looking and scrolling. It doesn't seem like any others have come in. And so, what I'd like to do is move towards, what you can actually do for hair loss. So, can we just kind of summarize what the conversation was today and talk about what do you recommend for people who are going through this and suffering with hair loss? So,
COVID related hair loss. Or
well, you know what? No. So you already identified or specified that it's not just COVID, it's illnesses and other things that can be going on with the body. So I guess basically this would be for any type of illness where hair loss is the result of.
the biggest thing you can do is outside of seeking a professional is be patient. A lot of people, it didn't come out overnight. They want it back overnight. You have to be patient.
It's true.
So I
That's
would say self care. I mean, I say self care, meaning relax, like finding that time to woo-saw, because a lot of this is stress. Stress exacerbates the situation. Even when we see that we have hair loss, we get even more stressed because we seeing it, right? Because we experience it. So I would say self care, lifestyle changes in regards to what we're putting in our bodies is going to make a huge difference.
And
great.
I just like to add, just seek out a professional, seek out a hair loss specialist, trichologist, a dermatologist, a cosmetologist that specializes in hair loss, because you want someone that can help you with this process. If it's an early onset, or if you're in the process of going through it, you don't want to have to figure this out on your own. So seek out a professional so that you can get the assistance that you need.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for that. And so, if there is anyone who wants to reach out to you, how can you ladies be contacted? You want to continue, Donisha?
Sure. So I am at Hair and Beauty Treatment Center in Augusta. You can reach me at www.thehbtc.com, and that's THEH as in hair, B as in beauty, T as in treatment, C as in center.com.
Mm, thank you.
All
Dana?
right. So I can be reached at www.haircares with the SINC.com. That's haircares with the SINC.com.
Awesome. And Marvelette?
And I am at Trico Science Clinic. I can be reached at www.tricoscienceclinic.com. TRICHO scienceclinic.com.
Awesome. All right. Now, I have a couple of announcements before I conclude, but we are all here. Now, I do see that Taria said it seems like it came out overnight. No, I do understand. We have people saying thank you. All right. But the announcement, I wanted to say that I recently learned about National Kindness Day, and that is Sunday, this upcoming Sunday on November 13th. And so to celebrate, the Voices of Trichology and I decided that we will have a drawing for a complimentary hair consultation, or consultations, because it's more than just one. And so it will include a dietary assessment. And so I talked about on the last lunchtime chat how it's important for you to know how what you eat is affecting your body, because if you can optimize what goes in your body, as Dr. Henry was saying earlier, it really is advantageous, in every body or every organ benefits, including your hair follicles. And so that you can access and go to register on links.maininsights.com/info. That is where you will find a countdown button to register. All right, there it is. And names will be pulled on Sunday. So on National Kindness Day, that is when the names will be pulled and winners will be notified. But I will also announce the winners on next week's lunchtime chat. So once again, go to links.maininsights.com, which is currently on the screen now, and you'll be able to register. The other thing that I wanted to say is I made an announcement last week that I would have a couple of webinars to discuss how practitioners can use their expertise to help with hair studies. So I would like to thank the hair practitioners who joined me for the webinar, and we actually kick off a course tonight, and I'm excited to have this additional research assistants who will be actively involved in helping me to collect data to further our knowledge on what's going on with the hair and scalp. So thank you for that. And so if you are watching the replay, be sure to post your comments and questions, even though this is live and we had a number of questions and comments there. Don't stop. We are always looking. And if you are looking to find a vetted hair practitioner, that can be found on my hair assets page as well. And so I will conclude in saying, always remember that our Black hair matters, and take care and love your hair. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.